Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Okay, I've been asked to come here and give you my take on what happened from my journey before I was a Muslim, then finding out about Islam, and then my journey as a Muslim. Okay, so I think I'd start way back when I was around 11, 12 years old, and I used to go to a boys' brigade with my cousin, Simeon Brown, who you all know very well, and my other cousin and my friends and my family who lived in the area in London. And that's where I first learned about, I was a Christian, sorry, I didn't tell you that. I was a Christian, and that's when I learned about God and, all the prophets and the stories that we all come to know already. I was a little bit confused because when I went to church, I didn't really understand much. There wasn't really much that I could understand in terms of when they would talk about Jesus, alayhi salam, and a few things just made me think, I don't understand. And I think I lost a lot of interest in wanting to learn, but I liked to play the games. When I was, at Boys Brigade, we used to play a lot of games. Football outside, we used to play indoor football, we used to play athletics, every type of sport. So all the youngsters in the community, we were always playing games, and we were happy to go. But one of the stipulations where we had to come to Sunday school. So obviously I went, and so I was a Christian. I was brought up as a Christian from a Christian family, and I lived my life. I felt like I did all of the things that I lived my life in a way where I treated others the way I wanted to be treated. And I felt like I was, as honest as I could be. I wasn't a person who tried to go out there and, lie to people or cheat people. So I felt as long as you was a good person and you believed in God, then you'll be okay in life. So I carried on my life living this way. And then obviously I went down the road of becoming a football player. I worked hard with the ability that Allah gave me. And, I became a professional footballer at the age of 17. Where I left my home in London and I went to live in Bristol on my own. For the first time I ever thought about leaving home was when I got an offer from Bristol Rovers, and I started my journey there as a professional football player, and living my life exactly the same way again, trying to be as good a person as I can be and not really caring too much about anything else because I just didn't know. And it wasn't until I moved to Wigan Athletic. At the time they was in Division 2. It was called Division 2, it's League 1 equivalent at the moment. And I started, doing really well at the club. And we went through from Division 2 to the Championship, and then we went to the Premiership. And the year we went to the Premiership, actually just before that, my brother actually became a Muslim. And I heard that he became a Muslim. We used to all live in London together, but he moved back to Bradford where I was born, and I just heard stories that he was a Muslim. So I was like, okay, next time I meet him, I want to speak to him and see what it's all about. And when I did speak with him, he would say small things that would really intrigue me while I was, at the time I was a professional footballer at Wigan. And I'd go and visit him and he would say things that would intrigue me, but after I'd leave him, I would no longer think about God anymore. I would just carry on my life. So I would just enjoy, doing the things that most of us do when we don't know about Allah. And it wasn't until I met my wife now, she came from a Muslim family, but she wasn't practicing at the time. So when we got speaking, we came across the subject of Islam, and I said I was a Christian, and she said, okay, but what do you believe about Jesus? And I was like, well, I don't believe he's God, but everything else, I believe he existed and all of that. But she said, okay, but if you don't believe that, then you can't be a Christian. So I was like, oh yeah, you're right. So we got in a conversation. I said, my brother's a Muslim, and a lot of the things he says makes a lot of sense, and it sounds very easy and very simple. And that's when I started really thinking about religion, because things got a little bit serious with this girl, and we thought, okay, she said she could never be together with a person who's not Muslim. She knew that, so she knew, okay, I need to go and learn about Islam and about Christianity to see whether religion is real. I wanted to check for myself, because I thought, I'm not going to become a Muslim just for somebody else. I want to make sure that it's a religion that I actually believe in fully. So I decided to go on a journey online on my own and trying to figure out what's right from wrong at the age of 23. And I thought, okay, I didn't have no guidelines of how to work this out, but I decided I'll go online and I'll see what I can find. And what I did is I went on a Christian website. I started reading a bit. And then I thought, okay, this sounds good, makes sense. And then I went on Islamic website. I just typed in Google Islam, and then I read about the first website that came up. I started reading about it, and I thought, okay, well, this sounds just as good. They both sound the same. They both look the same. So I was thinking, okay, one day I'm leaning towards Christianity, the next day I'm leaning towards Islam, because I was told that they're very similar, but I couldn't find where the differences were. And then I sat down and I thought, okay, how am I going to work this out? And I thought, okay, the sources. Let me look into the Bible. Where did the Bible come from? So when I looked into that, I found out there's 66 different authors over so many different years. There was books with different amounts of chapters in, some with more chapters, some with less, so many different versions. So for me, I felt like there was nothing that's agreeable. What is the Bible in the first place? So how am I going to know which one to choose to actually look at and see whether it was correct for me? And then I thought, okay, let me see what the Quran, what is said about the Quran. And I started reading, and I found that there was only one version, and it was only in one language, and it's never changed since the day it was revealed. I thought, okay, well, this one seems much more, trustworthy, something that you can go by, but that doesn't make it the truth. Just because it's never changed, it doesn't mean it's the truth. So I thought, okay, I have to now read into these books. And what I realized about, first of all, it was in the Bible, I found that there was contradictions. So we believe that, as Christians, they believe that, Jesus is God. And then he is also God's son, and then it didn't make sense. You can't be the two opposites. So I thought, okay, that doesn't make much sense to me. I can't really believe that. And that is one of the things you have to believe. It's a core fundamental to believe in, to be a Christian. So I couldn't believe that. But when I went in and read about what is inside the Quran, I typed in YouTube Quran miracles. And I saw a scientist talking about, the embryo, when the child is formed, the stages it goes through. And I realized that who could have known this apart from the person who made us? Because this is unseen to us. We can't see this. So that was one sign that I realized, okay, could it come from humans? No, because we didn't know that 1400 years ago, 1400 plus years ago, we didn't know that. So that's not possible, it could come from humans. So then looked into a bit more, and then they're talking about previously we thought that the world was flat. And then, obviously as a nation, we thought that the world was flat. Then we came to find out that it wasn't flat. So then the Quran all along gave descriptions of it not being flat. But not only that, but there's parts in the Quran where it's saying we're walking in the earth. Obviously, we know what the earth is, and then it's talking about us walking on the earth. So that is somebody talking with real knowledge of what the shape of the earth is and where we are in the earth. So I thought, okay, only the Creator could have known where that information, and they're not pointing it out. It's just normal talk, as if like us talking today to a person 1400 years ago. They would think, what are we talking about? So I felt exactly the same way, although we're just talking normally. So there was one sign on top of another sign on top of another sign. I started realizing, okay, there's no way this can come from anywhere other than the one who made me. So, but I still, in my head, that wasn't clear to me at the time. So what I did is I went on both the Islamic website and the Christian website, and I read about all of the things that you need to believe to become a Christian, and all of the things that you need to believe to become a Muslim. And when I read through the stuff that you need to believe to be a Christian, obviously I couldn't believe every single thing that was there. So I thought, okay, let me read about what you need to believe as a Muslim. So then, as each one I read, okay, you need to believe in Allah, you need to believe in the angels, the prophets, all of the things that it said, I could believe it, every single thing. And then at the end, it actually said, if you believe in all of these things, then you're already a Muslim. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm a Muslim. So it says, you just need to declare these words with your mouth and say that you're a Muslim. Testify that you believe in Allah and all of these things, and that the Prophet ﷺ is the last prophet. So I said, okay, I can say that. If I believe it, I say it. That makes me Muslim. So I said it, but that was the time when I just became a Muslim. But I just thought the same way as I was when I was a Christian. But I just now believed a different set of rules. Now I can live my life just like I was, doing whatever I want. The rules don't really matter so much. And now I'm Muslim. If someone asks me, what are you? I'm just going to say I'm a Muslim. But at the time, I obviously don't pray. I don't know I'm not following any rules. I just thought again that if you're good and you believe in Allah now and the Prophet ﷺ, that you're okay and you're going to go to paradise at the end anyway. So it wasn't until my cousin from Bradford, I went to his house, I spoke with him, and he said, I'm going to take you to a friend of mine's in Keighley. I'm not sure if you guys know Taj from Keighley, but a friend of mine, he took me to his brother called Taj's house. And we sat down and he fed me small pieces, bit by bit. He fed me food, yeah, but he fed me small pieces of Islam, but he always referred to the Quran and the Sunnah whenever he said anything about the religion. And he knew what to say to me. Like whenever I spoke about a subject, he'd always relay it back to the Quran and the Sunnah. So I started feeling like a thirst for all of this information, like, okay, there's more of this, okay, I need to hear more. And I really did love the food, okay. It was funny because when I left that first time I met him, my cousin brought me there. And I actually lived in West Brom at the time. This is in Birmingham. So I drove back to Birmingham, and then I decided to call him and go back and meet him without my cousin, like a few days after. So it was that much of an effect it had on me that I actually